Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 6 of the Vuelta a España, 183 kilometers, about 115 miles in length, and it's the second summit finish climbing mountain stage here of the 23 Vuelta a España. Now, what's going to happen? Well, Remco Evenepoel, he won stage 3, put himself in the race leader's red jersey with the Don pose coming across the line, and then he announced to everybody that he's going to give up the race leader's red jersey. Well, if you're going to give it up, this is the stage to do it, and that's why we saw no big attacks on yesterday's more than likely sprint finish stage. Instead of breakaways trying to get away, they're saving their legs for today's stage. Well, when the cameras come on, it is action-packed. When I'm sitting on the Chesterfield, we got about 85 kilometers to go. 40 riders in the front group, and 4 are Jumbo-Visma. Sepp Kuss is there. He's 55 seconds back on the general classification. Race leader Remco Evenepoel from Pseudo Quick-Step. He's got Attila Valters with him, a climber, Jan Tratnik, who climbs pretty good. And he's got Dylan Van Barley, the Paris-Roubaix winner, that can drive hard on the flats. They got some other company because FDJ Lenny Martinez, he's in this group and he's only 17 seconds down on the general classification. And he's got 2 teammates in this front group, Rudy Millard, who's pulling 100% with Dylan Van Barley on the front. And he's got Michael Storer, who's won a stage of the Vuelta a España in years past. With those 2 teams, we know for sure, sitting 17 seconds down on the general classification, Lenny, and 55 seconds Sepp Kuss, that they're going to want to pull 100% in this group of 40, and that's why Dylan Van Barley's at the front. Now, go back at the peloton. Let's see what's happening. Movistar's pulling right now. Ineos is pulling right now, and both you guys are knuckleheads because this is the job for Pseudo Quick-Step at this moment. Remember back on the Butterfly Effect on stage 3, I said there's 5 big teams here. Jumbo-Visma being number 1, Pseudo Quick-Step number 2. We start thinking UAE Team Emirates, Ineos, and then Movistar. You want to put these first 2 teams for sure on the front because when we're talking about the Slovenian Primož Roglič and his teammate Jonas Vingegaard, the Tour de France champ for 2023 and 22, you want that team on the front for sure. And at the front of that group of 40, that's what they're doing. They're riding full gas. Now, in the back group here, the peloton, like I said, we're talking about those other 3 teams in the top 5, you want Pseudo Quick-Step on the front. They got 2 guys in the front group of 40. They got Vervaeke up there, one of their climbers, and Matteo Cattaneo in that front group. Who knows how much energy they spend to get in there, but like I tell you on the Butterfly Effect, the number 1 rule, you always stay with your race leader, and Remco Evenepoel's your race leader, and he's the race leader here at the Vuelta a España. That's why he's in the race leader's red jersey. Now, what Movistar are doing, I have no idea because they got teammates in the front group with Rubio Einar up there too in that group of 40, but they're chasing back here. You got to stop being knuckleheads, and you got to let Jumbo-Visma pull this front group of 40 solo. Maybe some help from Lenny Martinez from FDJ because he's 17 seconds down on the general classification. It's a summit finish, and the kid only weighs 115 pounds, but he's 20 years of age, so can he pull it out on today's stage 6? Well, maybe, because he was in the front group when we were in Andorra when that group was down to 7, so Lenny Martinez has some climbing legs. The other guys, though, when we're talking about Ineos, what are you knuckleheads thinking? You missed the move. If I take you back before the race started, Geraint Thomas was saying, well, there's a small chance that the break might get away today, but it looks a little bit bigger right now with 40 guys in this front group, Ineos being knuckleheads pulling, Movistar knuckleheads pulling, and Pseudo Quick-Step's back there riding full gas, of course, with Casper Pedersen and Peter Siri. Now, that's going to take 2 guys away from Pseudo Quick-Step before the final climb. And the 2 guys in the front group, how much legs do they got left? That's 50% of your team. And oh yeah, Baggioli dropped out of today's stage being sick. So what kind of condition is the whole team in if one of your riders is sick and already dropped out here on stage 6? Well, 2 up the front, 1's dropped out. That leaves you 5 guys left, and 2 are working full gas on the front with Ineos and, of course, with Movistar. Now, the gap was all the way up to 7 minutes. Let's take you back up to that front group of 40 because Sepp Kuss makes a mistake. We'll see a split in the group early with about 75 kilometers to go. 6 guys are in the front. 3 of them are Movistar, and they've been throwing down. The 4th rider, Rudy Millard, he was throwing down in this front group too. But Lenny Martinez missed the split too, and Sepp Kuss because they were at the back of the group. Now the front group has to slow down. That's going to cost them time, so they're going to start losing time pretty soon. As they slow down, the group comes back to about 40, and then, of course, Dylan Van Barley and Jan Tratnik start going to work with Rudy Millard and one of the Total Energy riders, because Steph Cross is a threat for GC2 at about 1 minute and 13 seconds down on the general classification. Now, I'll point out one more guy in there, because how can I leave him out? His name's called Soler. The Solerism from UAE Team Emirates, a threat on the general classification at 53 seconds, so just ahead of Sepp Kuss, but behind Lenny Martinez, but he has no teammates in this front group. So when you're 1 out of 40, all you can do if you're Soler is stay in this and near the front of this group and don't miss any splits. Now, as the time starts dropping down with the 3 teams chasing behind, we got 40 kilometers to go and the gap's at about 4 minutes. 30 kilometers to go, it's down to 3.5, but you see the peloton back there, there's a little bit of a crosswind throughout the valley before they start the final climbing parts of this stage 6 here, and you see with the crosswinds like that, it's causing everyone to echelon over, and the guys at the back of the peloton are swinging. Let me take you up to the front of the group of 40 now in the breakaway. Sepp Kuss is still staying too far back for my liking. If I'm Jumbo-Visma, I get on the radio, I say, Sepp Kuss, stop messing around. You got a chance to win the stage and get the race leader's red jersey for US right now if you get up to the front of the group and stay out of trouble. Instead, he's always staying too far back, which means, as you see, the front group of about 8 guys lined across the road like that, and it's going single file back, 25, 30 guys back there. Sepp Kuss is about 10th from the back, and then eventually they'll bring Attila Valters from the front and bring him back there to give him some wind protection for Sepp Kuss. But I think you should have just gone straight to the front, Sepp Kuss, and save your legs. Now, we start getting into about 20 kilometers to go. The sprint line competition's coming up. We'll see Soler give full gas, and he'll gain some time bonus here at the sprint, too, to try to knock down that 53 seconds a little bit further down with that 6-second time bonus on today's stage. Behind what's happening, Filippo Ganna Ineos is going to work. He's driving full gas just before the sprint line competition, and he's got Pseudo Quickstep helping out. Casper Pedersen's legs will finally blow. Then we'll see James Knox at the front there with Filippo Ganna going full gas into this last and final climb. The summit climb here, 11 kilometers, just under 8%. It's a monster of a climb, and the group of 40 is going to go basically intact into this climb with about a 3 minute and 20-30 second gap on the peloton behind, being led by Ineos, being still led by Movistar and Pseudo Quickstep, who are losing numbers fast here on stage 6. Up front, we see it, Jan Tratnik. He's going full gas for Jumbo-Visma. Pulls for about the first kilometer. Then with 10 kilometers to go, Michael Storer from FDJ starts pulling on the front. Rudy Millard had done a great job through the beginning parts. Now it's time for their second rider of 3 to get on the front. Storer, he's pulling full gas. Sepp Kuss is sitting back there not touching the wind. Guys, this is one of the best climbers in the world. He's probably 5th best climber here at the Vuelta a España, and he hasn't had to touch the wind as Michael Storer is throwing down. I don't know for sure if I 100% agree with this tactic, but if Lenny Martinez, the whole 115-pound rider, if he could stay with Sepp Kuss, he could get himself in the race leader jersey, so I'm not too opposed to what Storer is doing. But he's got the pace going, not super fast. You can see it a little bit wide when we go back to the peloton. What's happening? Well, everyone from Pseudo Quickstep minus about 3 riders are left. 2, that means left with Remco Evenepoel. And up front, it's Ivan Cortinas from Movistar that's pulling the sprinter. He's got the group down to about 20-25 riders for Movistar. He's setting some hard tempo at the front as the peloton is blown up and everyone is sat up. That's not racing for general classification right now. As he's pulling full gas, let's go back up to the front of the group of 40 that's gotten reduced now down to about 30 riders, 25 maybe, and we see it's Michael Storer still on the front. He'll pull all the way to just under 4.5 kilometers to go, and then at 4.2 kilometers to go, Einar Rubio throws in a massive attack from Movistar, and he splits off from this breakaway of about 25 riders. He's going solo up the road. And then look at the next knucklehead here pulling. Well, that's De La Cruz from Astana. He's pulling full gas with Rubio going up the road. What are you doing, De La Cruz? Do you know who's back there? That's Sepp Kuss back there. Lenny Martinez, who's only 17 seconds down on the GC, and you want to pull them along with Soler? That's not your job, De La Cruz, at this moment, but you're doing a great job of holding Rubio closer right up until we see Roman Bardet attack with Lenny Martinez from FDJ. They get a gap. They got to make up about 15-20 seconds to Rubio, and they're stuck in the middle. Then we start seeing the gap to the left of the breakaway riders start going bigger and bigger, and Sepp Kuss, the American Flying Eagle, will throw down and bridge across quickly up there to Roman Bardet and Lenny Martinez. Just in front of Roman Bardet and Lenny Martinez is going to be, of course, Rubio, that's still holding off from Movistar. But it's all coming together with these four. Then all of a sudden the camera stopped looking at the four because there's action happening in the back. The GC favorites are starting to attack. It's Primož Roglič, the Slovenian, throwing in a hardcore attack. Remember, he was holding on for dear life in that stage in Andorra, but didn't lose any time except for 1 second in time bonuses to, of course, Remco Evenepoel. But now he's throwing in an attack with 3 kilometers to go. What's happening to the race leader's red jersey? Well, look in the middle of that group there of GC favorites. That's Remco Evenepoel open up a gap in the race leader's red jersey. Jan Hertz, I believe it is, further back off that group. His legs are blown. He's falling apart. Up front, you see one pseudo quick step left. That's Matteo Cattaneo, my old teammate. He's coming out of the group of 40. Now he's back there. He does the wise move. He looks back over his shoulder. He sees the race leader's jersey of Remco Evenepoel suffering as Primož Roglič is going up the road. He'll slide over to the left, drop back, get in front of Remco Evenepoel, but the gap just keeps extending. And now you see Primož Roglič going up the road, and it's Ayuso that has split off with Mas and Jonas Vingegaard and Kian Utelbrooks from Bora Hansgrohe. They got a gap, and they're closing up to Primož Roglič. Just behind them, you got 2 Bora Hansgrohe. One's Vlasov, and his teammates doing everything he can to bring him up to the front group. We go further down. The Remco Evenepoel is being led by his teammate Cattaneo. He's got some company. Geraint Thomas is there, and Almeida's there too. Almeida for just a little bit longer, till about 2.5 kilometers to go. Almeida throws in a small acceleration. You know he's got no jump at all, but he's got a huge diesel engine. So he gets a little bit of gap on Cattaneo, and he starts trying to bridge up to the duo in front of Bora Hansgrohe, hoping to get all the way up to Primož Roglič. Now the cameras go back up front to the breakaway specialist there of Sepp Kuss, who's in this original group of 40. Now he's going solo. They didn't show his attack. I told you they were all kind of coming back together, the front four. Now he's going solo, trying to win today's stage and get the race leader's red jersey. Behind, who's chasing? Bardet and Lenny Martinez are trying to bring back the American up front, but he keeps stretching out the gap. 20 seconds, 30 seconds. If he gets up to 38, he can put himself into the race leader's red jersey here on stage 6, especially with the time bonuses, depending on how Lenny Martinez from FDJ, if he can get second on today's stage. Now the 2 riders back there are chasing Sepp Kuss, but the GC battle's happening down below. We'll see Jonas Vingegaard, he's bridging up along with Mas, up to Primož Roglič. Roglič looks back over his shoulder. He sees Jonas Vingegaard get on his back wheel and starts to accelerate, but he doesn't have to do much because look at the camera as it goes forward. That's Attila Valters who dropped out of that front group of 40. Now he's going 100% on the front for Primož Roglič and Jonas Vingegaard with Mas in tow. Let's take the camera back up front because we're about 700 meters, 500 meters to go, and we'll see Sepp Kuss. We know he's going to win today's stage, but can he take the race leader's red jersey too after stage 6 finishes and said and done? Well, he starts to celebrate just at the finish as he goes over to the side before he crosses the line. High fives there. All the crowd there, crosses the line, kisses the wrist, arms posed out for the picture because you definitely want this moment to be posterized for Jumbo-Visma as they win today's stage 6. Sepp Kuss crosses the line. Behind, we go a little bit further down. What's happening? Well, the cameras go directly onto the Frenchman, Lenny Martinez, 20 years of age, youngest kid in the race, most likely. He's going full gas, suffering everything he can. But we see it's Bardet in front of him pulling 100% to 125 meters to go. Then Martinez throws in a huge acceleration all the way to the line and crosses the line to save the race leader's red jersey by 8 seconds and put the FDJ rider as race leader here at the Vuelta España. Now let's go further back because Bardet finished just a couple seconds to round out the podium, but there's a GC battle and it's a big one brewing behind. Primož Roglič has Attila Valters in front of him, but let's look at the individual pictures of Mas. Mas looks comfortable. The camera moves forward to Jonas Vingegaard. He looks like he's suffering big time. Moves one more spot up to Primož Roglič, the Slovenian, who looks pretty comfortable at this moment. Then when it moves up to Attila Valters, Valters is suffering all over the place with about a K to go still. He'll pull maybe 100 meters further and then Attila Valters will be done. Primož Roglič will go to the front and start setting a hard tempo. Mas is holding on for dear life. Jonas Vingegaard looks a little bit solid. He's not losing any spots, any space there to the wheel of Primož Roglič. We go further down. What's happening? Well, it's about just under 1.5 kilometers to go, and Remco Evenepoel is solo back there. Matteo Cattaneo's done everything he can for the race leader's red jersey, and Remco Evenepoel's going 100%. He's coming into about a K to go. He's got Vlasov just in front of him. As the cameras move back up front, Primož Roglič, Jonas Vingegaard throw in an acceleration, and Mas comes off with about 700 meters to go as the Slovenian and the Tour de France 2023 champ, Giro champ, along with the Slovenian, are going to the line 1 and 2 together with a gap on Enric Mas. Mas starts to blow. He gets caught by Ayuso before the line, and he gets caught from Almeida, who dieseled his way all the way to the finish to lose less than about 25 seconds to Primož Roglič. What's happening? Well, Mas will round out just behind that. Then we look further back, and I told you there that it was Remco Evenepoel that caught Vlasov. Well, now he's going full gas all the way into the line, and he'll salvage his lead over Primož Roglič and Jonas Vingegaard at the end of today's stage, and Enric Mas too. So Remco Evenepoel, who looked like it just completely disintegrated with 3 kilometers to go, somehow salvaged it with the help of Matteo Cattaneo, my old teammate from Lampre. Did a solid job though of setting tempo all the way in to drop Remco Evenepoel off into some rhythm. He held the 2 Jumbo-Visma riders all the way to the line and brought a little bit time back to be able to stay ahead of them on the general classification battle here at the Vuelta a España, but did lose the race leader's red jersey to Lenny Martinez. Second on the general classification, now Sepp Kuss for Jumbo-Visma. And third, the Solarism is third on the general classification battle. Remco Evenepoel is about 10th, if I remember correctly, about 2 minutes and 50 seconds back from Lenny Martinez. So the battle is all over the place. Tomorrow's the next sprint stage here at the Vuelta a España. So Lenny Martinez, you can relax tomorrow, and all your FDJ teammates, because Alpecin Deceuninck is going to do most of the work for you. Now, what could have happened there to Remco Evenepoel? Well, his teammate was sick, and Andre Baggioli in today's race. So maybe it spread through the team, or maybe it's just a bad day. Remco Evenepoel said he felt good at the beginning of the stage, a little bit off through the middle when they were setting tempo, and then when the big hit came from Primož Roglič with 3 kilometers to go, he just didn't have it to follow with the top speed, but he said he felt pretty good as long as he could stay regular and not go top. So he went regular with his teammate and then salvaged today's Vuelta a España GC battle here on stage 6. But he's still going to have to drop Sepp Kuss, who's ahead of him by a few minutes now here at the Vuelta a España. So we got a big battle. One other thing I want to point out when we're talking Sepp Kuss and Primož Roglič, and of course Remco Evenepoel, there looks like there's a lot of competition to ride pretty even with these guys when you look at the legs of Mas, who blew up with 700 meters to go, but Ayuso looked pretty solid. And Almeida, man, Almeida, how do you keep salvaging everything? No acceleration, no explosive acceleration to go with attacks, but man, do you have a diesel motor to salvage your general classification battle here. Geraint Thomas lost some time after he got dropped from Primož Roglič, so Ineos hopes for GC battle here are hopefully over, which means they won't do any more knucklehead moves pulling pseudo quick-step throughout these later mountain stages. If pseudo quick-step are as big of a knucklehead as they were in today's race to let 40 guys go up the road and put 2 riders in there that could have possibly closed that thing earlier. There must have been some tactical nightmare stuff happening back there for pseudo quick-step. Either way, you guys were big-time knuckleheads to let 40 guys go up the road when you only have 7 teammates in the race after Baggioli dropped out sick. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next edition real soon.